Who's this guy? Hey? Who's this guy? You'd figure it'd be a landslide at this point, right? Because that's what instantly I thought. I'm like, this other team is gonna have a bad game. And I don't want to ruin how this game goes, but I find this to be a very interesting game for a number of different reasons. What? You're not even gonna say hi at the beginning? Usually you touch gloves at the beginning, Iniquity, not later on in the game. Now I'm a little bit behind, so I have to slingshot to catch up. Hell yeah. Oh no, that was a different video. Alright, what this video is going to be about is just the dynamics of Titanfall and how weapons change things, and just to give other people a better understanding of how these games go, because I see a lot of the things in this game that happen to me on a consistent basis. That's why I thought this game was so interesting. Even at the beginning of the game, I thought this was going to be a landslide, but it didn't turn out like that. This right here was another time where I caught myself saying that's a G2. Because my first 3 deaths, I believe, are by G2s, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be that kind of game, and you're going to see me kind of change up my gameplay. What I really wanted to do was put on a Spitfire, because with a Spitfire, I could just compete. And from here on end, on long distance maps, I'm going to start running way more Spitfire, because then I just think that I can do really well considering the map. And I'm not going to say that you can't do well with certain weapons, because that's definitely not true. It's just that you're going to do better with some weapons on different maps. Now, talking about weapons, I'm using an R101. I'm not using no Spitfire. It still has decent range, so you know, I can still compete with it. But it's not quite up there with the G2 and the Spitfire when it comes to this map. Iniquity right now is running a Mastiff, and you're going to notice that he does pretty well for the beginning of the match. But I find that when you already have to make up that distance, that means you're already having to position yourself smartly. Once the Titans start coming out, it makes that twice as hard. And I think that's why his game starts going lopsided about midway through. When there were more Titans on the field, they were a coordinated team. A lot of them had mics, so I have to assume they played together. I have seen some of these names before looking back at them now. Oh, I misplayed this. I thought he was going up. If not, I could have thrown the grenade down. I should have been able to hear his position, and I did hear it, but I didn't interpret it right. Sound is one of those things you have to believe in, because you can't see it. It's just something you have to believe in, and if you find that you can't believe in sound, then you have no business sound horn, because you have to commit 100% to the sound. In Call of Duty, I think that's what I'm learning, that as soon as I hear any kind of footstep, I'm like, nope, just believe and go. There's so many sounds in Titanfall when it comes to jumping, falling. You get that vroom sound when things speed up, and that usually happens when guys are falling from a greater distance. There's just a lot of sound cues. I saw that person there and I'm like, I really wanted to throw it up into the tower. That was my original plan, but that was way too cocky. I don't know, this is a pretty hard challenge. Yeah, look, not even close. I need to get close, so I can go through this building. That's one way to do it. And then pop up at the other end. I thought it was a little bit short, but he's actually just not up there. Alright, first round of Titans, we kept up, and this is something that I see all the time when I play solo. I played a lot of solo Call of Duty, and that made me learn not to depend on my teammates and never assume anything about the spawn points. I did put on that perk that let me see around my teammates, because then I can confirm if there are bad guys and they're just letting them through. And I understand with all the corridors in that game, guys come out of everywhere, so any kind of help that you can get in regards to radar, I would take. Notice that we have the Titan advantage, and right now it seems really good. This is one of those scenarios where it makes sense to leave your Titan since there's no other Titans to challenge it. It shouldn't get scrapped. Great. This worked out. Now I just have to... Alright, who's shooting me? Find the next pilot. You know, all that stuff. If we can find the next Titan, that would be really good as well. But they start dropping them together, and they take some time to gather them all up. They do particularly well grouping together. Okay, but this is me in an Iniquity moment right now. I'm like, oh, Iniquity's here. I'm like, I think we're both on the same game plan. I didn't even have to do damage. All I had to do is catch those rockets and whip them at his face. And that's when you know that you can actually depend on a player, and you're not going to know that if you just don't know them and you're just in a pub. In Titanfall, I'm more free to do solo stuff. In Call of Duty, The worse your team is, the more the spawn points are gonna seem out of this world. You just don't know what to expect because your teammates are dying so much that they need to spawn somewhere themselves. And the other team is also rushing you so hard that your spawn's messed up already, right? Titanfall, different. I love Titanfall. This is definitely my favorite game, and coming back, just looking at footage, everything looks so quick. It is such a different game. I'm gonna try to get a game in tonight, and I really want to go sniping Call of Duty though. Sniping feels so good in that game, and with the time to kill, it feels like it's even more viable for just everyday players. I think this is one of those times in Call of Duty where you're not just gonna get instantly melted as you try to make a snipe shot. But I'm gonna go test out this theory tonight. I've already had a few good games with the sniper, and I don't even have perks, so I'm like, okay, once I get the dexterity perk, that's gonna help a ton. But we'll talk about that in a different video where I use Ruin and a little bit of grappling hook, and it's not half as cool as in this game, but it does help you to get some really good positions for sniping. Back to Titanfall. I'm doing really good support work right now. I feel really good about what I'm doing. I'm gonna get a battery. I'm really close to my Titan. There we go. I'm holding my breath at this one because I don't think I'm gonna live. It could have been a close Titanfall, but the pilot is what really threw that engagement off. I wasn't ready for the pilot. I think I could have deked out the Titan long enough to possibly even get him stomped. But that didn't work out, right? Coulda, woulda, shoulda, and all that stuff. And at this point, I'm like, this is gonna be rough. They know I'm coming, and it's in a wide open space. So obviously, that Titan is dead. Let's accept my losses. This thing's a write-off. I went for the crouching tiger hidden dragon, but I missed the slide. That's why I didn't have the momentum to get to him. My bad. 50-point lead. That's not much, but being close this whole time and having a small advantage, even if it's 50 points, feels pretty good in a game like this, because this game has been tight the whole way through. That accuracy when jumping. I need a perk. I need a perk for that. Call of Duty has some neat perks. And they definitely mix up the gun. It changes the feel of guns. So I have to say they always do a good job with their guns. They always feel great. The R101 for me is one of those guns that just feels amazing to use. The Spitfire, I like the ba-ba-ba-ba, but this gun reminds me of the ACR from Call of Duty back in the day. I'm trying to think right now what gun I would have liked to have in that situation. The alternator or the Spitfire? The alternator for ease. The Spitfire for style. People hate getting killed by the Spitfire up close. You kill them far away, they hate you anyways. But when you kill them up close off the hip with the Spitfire, it makes people just... Or maybe it's that high-pitched screaming sound that everybody uses on their Fortnite video. Like, what is there? Do you just type in Fortnite sound effects and it just has the screaming kid? It also comes with the graphic for the really fast motion blurs on the side. Everyone thinks they're Goku flying when they're just running on the ground. I'm like, dude, you're not going that fast. Even if you put fast forward, you're just not going that fast. You can build fast in that game, but you don't move fast in that game. You don't Titanfall. If I would have moved faster, oh my god, I'm gonna lose another Titan, ain't I? I am not very good at dropping Titans right now. Oh, and I'm smashing at the bulls? I'm like, oh, thank you. Losing 2 Titans in a row, that would have hurt. We're in a good position right now. If they manage to just buy some time, they're going to be able to swing right back into this, and we're going to keep having that back and forth that is the tug-of-war of Titanfall. As people get the Titan advantage, lose the Titan advantage. Don't worry, I got you. Where are you going? Why are you making this so hard? I should have just been able to swat it off you. You don't deserve me. Oh yeah, get the mines. Oh, every time you hit people with mines, you gotta feel good about that. Ouchie. Okay, that was cool. If you miss it, hit the mine with the vortex shield. Is that kind of like explaining your joke and it makes it less cool? And here is that swing. They have a lot of Titans. Let's see if he wants to get up close and personal. Alright, I got out of that situation, and there's a Titan behind me, there's this guy in front of me. He already had a lock. Oh, that hurts so much. I'm trying to hang on to my Titan because I feel like I need it, but I can't afford to die either right now. Everybody's feeling that right now. The game is really close again. So what was the point of this video? I think you may be asking yourself that at this point, because we are almost at the end. And I always kind of start off by explaining to you guys a little bit of the theme, and then I kind of just get into this rambling stuff in the center. But it's all somewhat relevant, alright? Some people are always just like, get good, you can make any weapon work on any map, and that's a half-truth, right? People are always like, you just have to play to the situation. But when you try to do things where you're using things like Massive, like Iniquity is right now on this map, or you try to use weapons that are just not well suited, it's like it doesn't matter how good you are sometimes, you're not going to perform particularly well. Another one of those situations is when you're playing pre-made teams, when you're just in a pickup group. Me and Iniquity randomly met up, so we have a random team. Some people are performing better, some people are performing worse, some people are performing with better weapons, some people are performing with less gooder weapons, and some people don't have the coordinated play that a pre-made team is going to have. When people are coordinating in Titanfall, I've always found that it makes a huge difference. Again, I play a lot of solo, so I see this all the time. I've always said that I perform particularly good in the early game, and then in the mid game where their coordination really starts paying off, which is usually when they start getting a lot more Titans and things start getting a lot more hectic, it's hard to keep up as a solo player. I'll be honest, when I originally made this video, I thought this was going to be somewhat of a bash of how OP G2s and Spitfires and long-range weapons can be in Titanfall. But then I thought against it because we made the choices of the weapons we ran. And I've heard that talk of the scrub mentality, which I think is another stupid term, to be honest. It's not a scrub mentality. These are still games. You know, most people play for fun, right? We're not all freaking like MLG kids. People are playing for fun, so you can use whatever weapon you have. Somebody was bringing up an old video that I made, and it was called The Rules of Engagement, and he's like, did you just name it that randomly? And it's like, no, I named it because we make our own rules of engagement. Like myself, I like to be stylish, and sometimes when I get killed on the approach, I'm like, well, that's bullshit. I'm like, really, Tone? That's bullshit. And it just makes you salty. And I said this in one of my videos that all of a sudden it just clicked on me. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes when I'm not messing around, I'm going to go to the best of my ability. I'm going to use the best Titans. I'm going to use the best ordinances. I'm going to use the best ability. Whatever is the best to me right now, like, to be able to make that choice for yourself and just perform at 100%, go ahead and do it. That's all I'm saying. It's like, if you want to do it, do it. If you think other people are being cheap, it's like, stop being a bitch, because it's true. You can't bitch about these things. Oh, sorry, man. I drifted off so much. But back to this rules engagement thing, just to summarize this whole thing, it's like, not everybody is going to have the same standards as you. Some people are going to use chemical warfare, even if it's outlawed by the Geneva Convention, but no one has any way to enforce it like the UN, you know, that kind of thing. Like, just use whatever you want. This is still just a game, so enjoy it in whatever way you want to. And if you say being a little bitch is not enjoyable, it's like, I beg to differ. Let's do some more Spitfire gameplay. It keeps me in pro shape for COD. Going MLG boys. Actually, I'm going to be sniping, so if you guys like some sniping, tune in for that. I can't Kraber, but I can snipe in COD. So that's what we're going to be doing in the next video. If you enjoyed this one, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Is there enough time for me to say something at the end like I usually do? Yeah, there is. Why didn't this end up on Frontier 50?